Hi guys, it's Sharnicia J, and I'm back with another video going ahead and finishing up Ladies Get Paid by Claire Wasserman. Thank you for liking. Thank you for coming on. Tonight I realized that today is June 13th. No. Yeah, 13th. And we have to return this book tomorrow. So what we're going to do, we had finished chapter 7 last night, and I decided that we're going to do 3 chapters tonight. We're not going to read them. I already read through them, got the high points of each chapter, and I'm going to give you basically an outline of what all of the chapters are talking about. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started because it's already kind of late tonight. But I cannot come on here. Hi, how are you? I'm good. I'm really good. Really tired. I actually ended up going to the beach today, so that was good. It was really therapeutic. How are you doing today? So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and finish up 8, 9, and 10 tonight, and then in the morning I will get on and we will do 11 and 12 because we only had 12 chapters, but tomorrow we have to return the book, so that's what we're gonna finish. But yeah, how are you doing today or tonight? It's nighttime now. And tomorrow I'm probably most likely gonna do the same thing. Hi, if you're new, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe if you're interested in what we have going on. Tonight we're reading the rest of this book, almost the rest of the book. Tomorrow morning we'll be reading the last 2 chapters of this book. It's about money management and how to negotiate salaries in the workforce for women. But I feel like it could also help men as well. So it's great if you're a male as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So chapter 7 we finished last night. Chapter 8 is what we're moving on to. It's called Get Allies. The way that you can get allies in the workplace, Claire Wasserman suggests that your manager can be your ally, and you can create an ally relationship with your manager by communicating well with them and finding out their expectations of you and how do they like to be communicated with and how do you like to communicate with them. Is it email, through text, through calls? Is it person to person? Is it in a meeting? And what time is the best time? And find out how to bring up potential issues and challenges with your manager. So that way your communication lines are open and there aren't any difficulties in that area. Solicit feedback from your peers and your colleagues as well as your manager. Make sure it is specific feedback. Make sure they give you very specific details whenever it comes to giving feedback. Don't take offense to it. Try to understand the feedback in a way that it will help you and work together for a solution. Like say if you're working with coworkers or with your manager, if they give you feedback on something, find out what you can do better. Like I said, it has to be specific, detailed feedback that's going to help you in the workplace and get better at whatever it is that you need to fix or get better at. I hope you guys can hear me. I don't know, maybe I should put it in my AirPods because usually I wear them whenever I go live. So maybe this will help you guys hear me better. I don't know if it does or not, but I put them on anyway so you guys can better hear me. Okay, and another way to create an ally is dealing sometimes you even if so she said that you can have your manager as an ally, but not only that, sometimes you may have yeah, I'm doing well. How are you? Are you doing good? Sometimes you may have difficult managers So you would have to create a path forward. Don't make assumptions, instead separate the behavior from the actions. Also focus on the impact. Say if your manager was yelling in a meeting and he uh jams his fist down on the table in front of you or on your desk, you need to explain to him what you felt or how that made you feel whenever he did that, or like what made it escalate, what made the conversation escalate to the point where the manager was reacting in that way, and what could he do better, so that he could further explain to you in a detailed manner what he wants from you, instead of getting to that point of yelling and being so aggressive. Cause child, but honestly, me, like if I weren't reading this book, a lot of people would like walk out. Nobody has time for the disrespect. Sorry, I meant you sound good. Oh, okay, good. Thank you so much for telling me. Okay. Confirm. Oh, bring solutions. So whenever you have a problem with your manager, make sure that you bring solutions to the table, so that and also confirm everything that you spoke about with a recap to prevent further mishaps and to prevent further problems in the future. And also document everything. Every time I've been on a job, I documented everything. I would document if I was resigning from a job, or if it was a two-week notice, or if there was some kind of racial profiling or any kind of incident or anything like that. You have to document. And as a manager also, they should want to document that as well, to cover their tail from the higher ups. So you always want to document things whenever you're trying to create allies, because then you'll be able to report to your corporate office or whatever. Tips to save money. Here's another thing that will be your best friend, aka an ally, whenever you're in the workplace. One tip to save money is to write down your money goals. I have a video on how I budget and manage my money, and you guys might want to look at that if you're interested in this topic. So write money goals, make a budget, and cancel subscriptions. A lot of the time we do free week trials or a free month trial in like Netflix or Hulu, whatever accounts that you have that are subscription. Shoot, you might have OnlyFans, you never know. You need to make sure that you get rid of those subscriptions if you've already tried it out and you decided that you didn't want it. Don't forget to go back to unsubscribe, so that it won't be charging you unnecessary fees whenever you have subscriptions. That's another way to save money. A fourth way to save money is to set up an automation like Digit. Digit is an app that you can set up and tie it to your bank account, to where it will save a certain percentage of money and take out whatever money that it needs to. It takes it out in increments and takes that money and it places it into your savings account. And before you know it, you have like $100-something. I had Digit one time, and you literally can just set it and forget it, because it will be taking out such small increments of money that over time you will have saved like $100. I think I did it one time, and like I think within a day or two, or maybe it was a week. I don't know. I can't remember. That's how much I didn't notice it. I saved like $100-something, and I hadn't even noticed. And it's the same with Acorns. Acorns rounds up to the nearest dollar or penny or whatever it is, and it will do that as well with your account. Negotiate with vendors. Okay, so like call bill companies, well, places that you have bills with, like your cell phone, and negotiate numbers with them. Like, say if you don't need unlimited text messaging, have a certain amount of what do you call it? Capabilities with your phone plan. You might want to minimize that. Also, your cable bill. Maybe you only need 10 to 11 or 12 channels instead of a whole thousands of channels. Electricity bill. Research different competitors And then you can bring that up to them, like say, hey, like you guys are charging me this, but if I go to this other company, they will be charging me way less. And then they might want to negotiate with you to keep you as a loyal customer, especially if you've been with them for a very long time. That's another way to save money. And also, never forget to be polite when you're trying to negotiate so that you can save funds. All right, number 5 for creating an ally in the workplace is to find a sponsor. First, identify someone who can relate to what you want to achieve in your career path. Identify them by knowing what you are trying to learn or achieve, because you most likely your sponsor, you might be able to learn or achieve something from them. Like maybe you need them to sponsor you financially, maybe you need them to sponsor you in a way that you can learn something from them, from job shadowing them or something like that. Also, go ahead and reach out to that person, then talk to them about your aspirations so that they will know why you need to be in contact with them and why you need them to be your sponsor. And be patient. Remember that the sponsorship is not just a favor. The sponsorship can go both ways. So if they're sponsoring you monetarily, or if they are sponsoring you in any other way, make sure that they know that you guys can build a relationship and you can do things back for them, because you're not only just using them as a sponsor. It's like how we talked about networking in the past chapters. With this sponsor, you can create some kind of relationship to where you guys can have a give and take. Like say, oh, I need you. Okay, so here's an example. I use the NAACP as a sponsor, or I have in the past as a sponsor to let's see, what was it? Maybe sponsor a trip or something. And it was probably something to do with Black women's rights. I'm just making this up. And of course, NAACP is going to sponsor it because it's something that has kind of ties to them, because they are the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. So why would they not sponsor you if it's something that has to do with the uplifting of Black women or something? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would they not sponsor you? So talk to them about your aspirations. What are you trying to achieve with this? Reach out to them, be patient, and remember that it can go both ways. So not only are they sponsoring me with that, but I can say, oh, I'll join your organization if you sponsor me. Like, don't say it in that way, but it will look better, and it ties you up to where you're able to network through that group, to reach other people who you may want to network with, to make your group grow in the future, and like things like that. It's interchangeable. You don't want it to just be a one-way street and you're just like asking for money, asking for time, of an organization or a person. You want to make it a give and take. The 6th and almost final thing to get allies in the workplace is work with your peers. Your peers can be allies as well. Make sure that you guys have things in common. Use the shine theory. So if you guys are helping each other out, make sure that both of you guys are shining in the process. Also amplify each other and get involved with groups and activities at your company. Just like I was saying, how you could use a sponsor such as the NAACP or like any other community group. Get involved with groups within your company, so that way you're able to network with even more people who are at your company who may have Am I frozen? Oh my gosh. Let's make sure my computer's okay. Okay. I'm gonna power because I don't want me to be charging it too much. Okay. Peers are another form of ally. The 7th and last form of ally that you can create within your company that you work for is by navigating office politics to show your leadership skills. So there may be politics in the office or in your workplace, and you would need to, get involved in the politics. Don't don't get so involved to where you make a mess of the politics, but get involved enough to where you can steer it in a productive way, so that it will let you shine and it will show off your leadership skills. So that was what chapter 8 was about. Oh, sorry, you guys. That was like an app notifying me of something. So that was chapter 8, Get Allies. Do you guys have any questions about getting allies in the workplace? Have you had trouble getting allies in the workplace as a woman or as a man? Do you guys have any questions or input whenever it comes to that? If not, then I will move on to chapter 9. Chapter 9 is called Get Promoted. So remember, this book is about negotiating salaries and making sure that you have a healthy work environment. And also, of course, it's get promoted, because that's another part of getting a great salary in the workplace. All right, so get promoted. How you get promoted, Claire Wasserman suggests that communicating effectively could help. Whenever you're in meetings, you want to make sure that you sit where everyone is able to see you and be able to speak up. Speak up and don't wait too long to speak up about whatever you guys are talking about in the meeting that is of your concern. And also, don't ever forget to introduce yourself so that everyone will know you and be able to talk back to you, as well as involve the room by referencing other people's ideas. So if people in the meeting have already spoken up, then refer back to their ideas by, and that will make them feel like they're including you. I mean, you're including them. And stand your ground. As women, we have the tendency to get cut off by other people because, I don't know, I guess people just see that sometimes maybe what we're saying is not as important because we're women, I guess, or if we're like a soft-spoken person. I know myself personally, well, I was raised by a whole bunch of Aries women, and everybody loves to talk their butt off, and everybody is very opinionated and very direct. So we cut each other off a lot. But so I know what this feels like, but also just as women in general, I feel like sometimes we can be cut off because we might be soft spoken. Make sure you stand your ground and say, okay, before we move on to what Susan has to say, that I've only explained 25% of my idea. And when you say that, that's going to make someone be like, well, I wonder what was the other 75% of her idea that she wanted to explain to us. So let us hush and like listen and let her finish her statement. So make sure that you make the statement clear that you haven't finished what you were talking about. And then whenever you finish, you will allow them to go on and finish talking about what they were talking about. Don't do it in a rude way, but just make sure everybody knows that, hey, I'm here. I was talking. Don't interrupt me. And I'm going to finish what I was just saying. So whenever I finish, you can say what you say, but what you need to say. But right now, I'm going to finish what I'm saying. Go where, in chapter 9, also another way to get promoted is to go where you can grow in the company. If you are in sales, then maybe you need to go to trend forecasting in the company in a whole nother direction where you have the skills to be a part of the company still, but to where your skills can grow further and to where you could possibly get a promotion due to the fact that you are interested in more than just what your entry level position was. It shows your versatility. Also, keep growing by learning from the feedback that we talked about in chapter 8. Also, you can get a promotion by asking for a promotion. Why not ask for it? Don't wait until your evaluation or your review for the year. Go ahead and ask for the promotion through doing things like asking for professional development, Do a professional development request by sending a letter to your boss telling them that, oh, there's this course that I want to go to, or oh, I want to go back to school. And you can ask for them to refund you for driving to whatever event it is, but it has to be an event that you know is gonna be an event that will build your skills and that will build your skill set in order to make you a better, not candidate, but make you work better in your field that you're in at the office or at the organization or the company. So make sure that it's something that pertains to your job, and maybe they will support you going to whatever class or whatever meeting or whatever workshop that you're wanting to go to. They will probably fund your expenses for going, as well as approve of it, and maybe you might get some kind of accolades or points or awards for going, and then bring back what you've learned at that convention or workshop and implement it by maybe creating your own opportunities in your position at work. Like if your job is not challenging enough, you can take what you've learned from whatever convention you requested to be able to go to and to be refunded the money for. Bring back whatever you learned and try to implement it at your company or at your job, and show what you've learned so that you'll be able to shine as the leadership role in that position of whatever you've created, for the company to see that you actually learned something whenever you went back to school or whenever you went to that workshop. All right, so that pretty much sums up chapter 9, get promoted. Hopefully after you do all that, you'll get promoted. Chapter 10 is really about getting your company on board with understanding all of the things that we've talked about in this book. So getting your company on board with like, hey, what you guys are doing in the workplace doesn't make it easier for people of color or women of color or whatever you are. It doesn't make it easier for us to elevate in our career fields at this job or at this company. And we need to come together to create some type of employee research group. Employee resource group, so that we can come together and try to change some of the, what was it called? Change some of the current policies at your job so that they will go along with ideas that could make the workplace better. Like say your family leave or your motherhood leave is only like 3 months long. Well, this other company has 6 months for their mothers who have to leave their jobs to take care of baby whenever they are pregnant and they have children or whatever, and they want to go home and have the baby and then get situated with the baby. Come up with a policy that outlines what your current policy is. Well, first she says a strong opening and tell the CEOs why you're meeting on the topic that you're meeting for, and come up with a why statement, why they need to change some of the policies at your job. Then come up with employee testimonials where people have actually experienced certain. It says people are often moved to action because personal stories are more powerful than just facts and figures alone. So you need testimonials of people who have been affected by whatever policy that you're trying to change to make the workplace environment better for the people of color or for the women or whatever group at your job needs help in whatever area you guys are trying to change the policies for. Also, let them know what the current policy is, and then benchmarking competitor policies. Let them know what other companies' policies are, and compare yours to theirs. And then it says provide a comparison of competitors' policies from within your industry or geographic region. Find competitor policies that demonstrate that your company needs to catch up with the standards of what's going on today. Be cognizant of context. For example, a small company doesn't necessarily have the resources of a large one. And proposed policy. State the current policy if there is one and the specific changes you're proposing. So I hope that makes sense. So in order to make things go more smoothly, you can get together and come up with an employee resource group. And that should make things go a little bit smoother in whatever area that is having some challenges at the moment in your organization or your company. Chapter 11 is a chapter that we will start tomorrow. So chapter 10 was the start of a whole nother part of this book, which is called Make a Difference. So after we have learned how to get the interview, how to get the job, how to negotiate salaries, we ended up, what was it called? It was game time. Wait, so first we did build your foundation by getting aligned, get out of your head, and get over perfectionism. Like getting your mind right, getting your body right, getting everything right in order to focus on, okay, I want to get this job. Part 2 was game time. Get connected, get the job, get paid, and get balanced. And part 3 was level up, get allies, and get promoted. Now we're in part 4, which is make a difference. We've got our company on board by getting them to change some policies. So after you do that, tomorrow we will talk about a case study, which is called Get Equal. So that will go deeper into, I guess, how we can have more equality in the workplace. And then chapter 12 will be the conclusion of the entire book. So we're going to do that in the morning. I think that that's going to be awesome. Did you guys learn some things? Did you hear anything that stuck out to you? And how have you guys been liking this book so far? Have you learned a lot from this book and how the workplace can be made better? In today's society where we have so many inequalities, we always have, things seem to be going better, and then sometimes it seems like we're taking a whole bunch of steps backward. So I hope you guys learned something. I hope that you can take it back to your workplace if you work, so that things can get better for people of color, or if you're a woman, or if you're a man, whatever area you're in. I hope that you took something from this book, Ladies Get Paid, because it's not just it's called Ladies Get Paid and it's great for women, but I can take away some things from it. Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. I'm so glad, because I really was hoping that I wasn't reading it for no reason or giving the tips from it for no reason. I wanted you guys to take something from it, because I just felt like, I told y'all at the beginning that I felt like it was kind of gonna be something boring, but then it turned out to be something good. And I actually can take some things from it also for my own business. Another thing that I wanted to talk about before we get off of here is that I have made strides to start my website. So that's exciting. That's upcoming. I'm supposed to talk to the guy about my website soon. It's actually someone I know. One of my friend's brother makes websites. So I'm either going to use him, or I have this other app that I have decided to download and start on. If they don't contact me within a couple of days, I'm going to start working on it myself. But it was just the websites that I was going to make it on, those websites that they kind of already have templates. I didn't really want to use those because you guys had suggested being able to customize the glasses or masks on the website. So I was like, let me try to have someone make it or use a different template or something. So I'm going to see what I can do with that tonight before I fall asleep, and then also wait to hear if I hear anything from the guy who can actually make them from scratch, and then that'll be good. So I'm so excited. This really motivates me, getting on here talking to you guys about my business and the things that I'm creating and making, because then it helps me get more ideas, and then it makes me want to produce and, be productive, because then I want to show you guys the result, and I don't want to let you guys down. And, it just holds me accountable. But anyway, do you guys have anything else that you want to talk about or that you want to say? Today has really been a full day. And it's 9:16. Whoa, we got done way faster than last night. I think last night we were getting off at 11 p.m. I should do this more often, where I just summarize everything. Do you think that I should go ahead and read 11 and 12? Because they're like super short. They are super short. Chapter 12 is only one page, one front and back page. Because I can. Let's see what chapter 11 is about. Tomorrow the 14th. What about tomorrow being the 14th? Are you saying that you want me to do chapter... Oh, yeah. Because I have to return it tomorrow. Yeah, I think... Are you saying yes, go ahead and do chapter 11 and 12? Okay, all right, come on, let's do it. Yeah, and the conclusion, chapter 12 is literally one page. Okay, so let's do 11 real quick. The last woman we'll meet, Madeline, experienced workplace discrimination on multiple levels. While her situation might seem extreme and her response drastic, I view her story as one that brings together many of the other experiences and issues faced by other women featured in this book. From questioning herself to activating her allies. Go ahead and like the video, you guys, if you're new, and subscribe if you're if you're new, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I post. Thank you. All right, so we're reading this book, Ladies Get Paid by Claire Wasserman, and we're on chapter 11 if you have the book or if you're looking it up and you want to follow along. We're on chapter 11. It's called Get Equal. It's about getting equal in the workplace. So let's see what she's talking about. While her situation might seem extreme and her response drastic, I view her story as one that brings together many of the other experiences and issues faced by the other women featured in this book. From questioning herself to activating her allies, the core of Madeline's struggle is how to best advocate for her value and that of the women around her. In structure and story, this chapter includes less direct advice prescribed throughout it. Madeline's story speaks for itself. Her decisions are personal, and her particular experience may not translate to universal lessons so much as act as an inspiration. I trust you will take what resonates and actualize it in a way that makes sense for you, and maybe it will be a catalyst that moves you to fight for justice for yourself and other women. Welcome to the club. Pencola Partners was a prestigious boutique investment bank with a boisterous frat boy founder who turned his inherited millions into billions by leveraging his community of wealthy family members to invest in his deals. Madeline was a 40-year-old partner at another highly regarded bank when Pencola Partners recruited her. They were looking for someone to be their head of talent analytics, and her experience in organizational management made her an ideal candidate. She was hesitant at first. In her research about the company, she had found that out of the 75 investment professionals there at the time, only one was a woman. Same for the 12 managing directors. There was also just one woman. Madeline had been on Wall Street long enough to know what kind of boys club she might be getting herself into, but after considering the opportunity, she felt optimistic enough to believe she could affect positive change. She pitched the company on building a diversity and inclusion program to help recruit beyond their typical hire, which tended to be a Harvard or Wharton graduate hailing from Connecticut and almost always male. She was there to be part of the solution. After a lengthy negotiation, Madeline was in. She started almost immediately. The first sign that something was seriously wrong came about a month after Madeline joined, when a female senior executive on her team took her to lunch. They hadn't even ordered. I'm sorry, I stop sometimes because I want to see where I can skip through, because I don't want to bore you by just like reading straight through. It's forever. Hi, Chocolate. They hadn't even ordered their food when the woman burst into tears. Over the course of the meal, she burst into tears. I'm sorry, this is not funny, but it's interesting. Over the course of the meal, she opened up to the meta. Oh, Chocolate, we finished chapters 8, 9, and 10. Now we're on chapter 11, and we're going ahead and finishing the whole book because tomorrow I have to take it to the library. Okay. Madeline about how she was making over the course of the meal, she opened up to Madeline about how she was making about a third of her male counterpart salaries, and when she went to the HR to report and try to remedy the discrepancy, they told her she didn't have the budget to do anything about it. Not only that, they would be cutting salaries, hers included, to make up for the shortfall in their budget. However, not too long after, a wave of new men were hired at paychecks 3 to 4 times the size of hers. Things got even worse, she said, when she went on maternity leave less than a week after. Oh, that's what it's called, maternity leave. Earlier I was talking about the time that you take for motherhood leave. I don't know what I was talking about. I meant maternity leave. Okay. Less than a week after she gave birth, one of the executives tasked her with putting together a report. Though she just barely left the hospital, she didn't feel pushing back was an option. And so, for fear of being fired, she put her head down and did it. She was still traumatized. Madeline had dealt with chauvinism before, but this lunch signaled to her that this was different. She noticed some concerning signs herself, like witnessing an executive ask a female manager to clean up garbage after a meeting. Madeline was beginning to question if this kind of toxic culture might be too much, too entrenched for even her to improve. The next troubling experience happened a few months later. She was at a fundraising event. In conversation with 2 male executives, another woman joined their conversation for a bit. And when she left, one of the men turned to the others and asked, Do you want to F her? That's what they asked. What? This is outrageous. You can. She works for me. That is so horrible. But just as the female senior executive had done before her, Madeline put her head down and kept pushing forward. She continued to focus on the platform she was building, trying to assure herself that she was doing her part to improve the company culture. She put her head down and kept pushing forward. Okay. The discovery. A few months after the fundraiser, Madeline was going through the hiring budget when she was stopped in her tracks. There was a stark difference between the compensation that was being offered to men and the compensation offered to their female counterparts. It didn't matter their level, background, or skills. The men were categorically paid more. One new hire stood out in particular. He was coming from a firm that was being shut down, and although he was partly responsible for their revenue loss, his salary was still 3 times higher than the female hires on the same level. Madeline couldn't understand why that was, so she took it to head of recruitment. His response: the boss likes him. The guidelines for approaching a different conversation. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna skip down to the last paragraph of this part because there's a section that I really want to get to. The guidelines for approaching a difficult conversation about your salary are similar to how you might address a challenging manager, as is laid out in Chapter 8, Get Allies. The best thing you can do is stay calm, give your manager the benefit of the doubt, and make the case for why you deserve more. You just found out your coworker makes more. Now what? Okay. Separate your emotions. Most likely, this is an intensely emotional experience for you, but you have to do your best to isolate how you feel from what you're going to do. Letting your emotions overwhelm you will make it harder to be as objective and as analytical as possible. Plus, the more emotional you seem, the easier it is for you to be dismissed. Seek guidance. Is there someone at the company who might have advice on how best to handle this? Choose this person carefully so as to be as discreet as possible. Get information. Don't assume that the pay discrepancy is due to sexism. There are multiple factors that go into determining compensation. So, in order to better understand the situation, inquire about what the pay structure is and where your salary falls in relation to others. Perhaps they prioritize master's degrees, or your colleague has a unique background or skill set. Ask what you can do. Assuming the purpose of bringing this issue up is to get a raise, have them tell you what you need to do to get one. Maybe you're already on track, or maybe they will suggest you take on a stretch assignment. Example, a new project, role, or test that helps you develop skills. If your annual review isn't coming up within the next 6 months, request to have another meeting in 3 months in order to make sure you're doing the work they need to see to increase your compensation. Going into work after the discovery was difficult for Madeline. It was as if her colleagues had numbers floating above their heads, the men's salaries dwarfing the women's, and all the women were seemingly unaware, just as Madeline had been. She debated whether she should tell them, but given that she was still trying to process it herself, Madeline decided to keep it to herself for the time being and push the women around her to ask for raises. That included her. If she couldn't close the wage gap for everyone, the least she could do was make more money herself. Madeline spent time meticulously preparing her case for a raise. Knowing how much other people were making encouraged her to swing big to her relief. Her manager agreed in theory. He wasn't the final decision maker, but he promised that he'd strongly advocate for her to the higher ups. Madeline eventually got a raise. Though it wasn't what she wanted, it was a 20% bump, which under any other circumstance would have been great. However, it was still almost 300% less than what her male counterparts were making. To say it was a slap in the face was to put it lightly. It wasn't just unfair. Madeline thought it was outrageous. She'd gotten a perfect performance review and had newly built strategy team. Wait, what? Oh, yeah. And her newly built strategy team was considered a huge success. It made no sense. For about 5 minutes, Madeline contemplated quitting, but that would mean they'd won. That would mean they'd won. She couldn't let that happen. She had to do something. But what? Speaking out against inequity but comes with the risk of you being perceived as an agitator. That's why it's extremely important to take the utmost care to preparing your case. Be methodical in mapping out your options and who will stand with you. Take your time. Madeline turned her dining room into a war room. She laid out the large pieces of paper and mapped out all the possible next steps she could take and what the various outcomes might be. A friend suggested, "Hi everyone. If you're new, go ahead and like the video and subscribe and click the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I post. What do you think of women with career balancing having family?" I think that they need to. I honestly, oh my gosh, this is a crazy question to answer. I believe that, okay, for me, I can speak on me personally. I believe that once I get to a position where I want to have a family, I want to be at a position where I can retire and have my babies and be at home with them and have somebody else run my companies and stuff. But I'll probably still do YouTube and stuff like that if that's still a thing by the age that I want to be. By 35, I want to be at a point where I'm retired. Some other people are running my companies and my empire, and I'm at home raising my babies and being a wife and mother. But to balance it out, I think that they should take some steps that she actually has mapped out in chapter, I think it was actually chapter 1. No, Get Balanced was chapter 7 that we read last night. I'll go to that right now. That's an interesting question. I can go to chapter 7, Get Balanced. Like, she talked about knowing where the burnout begins and what makes you burn out. So catch the warning signs. Have you become cynical or critical at work? Nah, not that. It gets worse before it gets better. Where are you spending your energy? Track what you do hour by hour. You need to make sure that you have a wellness assessment with yourself. Find out where you're spending your energy and how the different things make you feel, and then find out what makes you anxious and agitated. She also talked about your inbox, lightening the load, stop multitasking, schedule your day and week accordingly. Yeah, you would really have to have like a tight schedule. That's why I have this calendar. I have a whole bunch of journals. Like, this is my financial journal. This is my emotional and spiritual journal. Oh my gosh, sorry about the dust or whatever that was. And then I have other journals for other organizations I'm in. I'm sure I would have a journal or a planner for my job and my scheduling for all my job stuff. But that would just be really like complex planning and scheduling. But it's pretty much the same thing. Whenever I'm in a relationship and whenever I used to be in school as well, I would plan out all of the tasks that I needed to do for the week for school, because that was like my main priority, but also your relationship is a main priority as well. So me and my person, he had a job, like he was already into his career. He was in the psychiatric arena, or mental health. Yeah, he was into mental health. That's what his career was. He's a therapist. So we set aside weekends where we would come and see each other and meet up, have fun, do whatever we were going to do. But throughout the week, it had to do with like making sure he was also in school to get his master's at one point as well. So I had a planner where I had mapped out, because I was a theater major and a dance minor. This is at the early beginning part of our relationship when we were both super young. So I would plan out when I was going to study, when I was going to do certain homeworks, when it was due in a planner. And I had like a calendar as well. And we would both go to bed at the same time because we would talk to each other every night. So we kind of had to sync up our schedules in a way to where we include each other in parts of it. We would talk often throughout the day as well as at night before we went to bed. Sometimes he might be on the phone with me while I'm doing homework, or maybe I would call him after I would do homework, and then we'll both decide on a time to go to bed at the same time. If I didn't finish something the night before, if we both didn't finish something the night before, we would get up early the next morning whenever he was going to work, and I would decide to go to school early. And we would go wherever we were going to our destinations at the same time so that I could go and get work done early before I had to go to class. And so that, it was his regular work schedule. But whenever you sync up your schedules and you guys are working as a team and you both hold each other accountable with your goals, like I had goals to have really, really good grades, but also keep the relationship. And he had goals to maintain his position at work as well as go to school and get his master's. We synced up our plans and our timing and schedules to where we could achieve that together at the same time and still keep the relationship. And it was a lot of work, yeah. And it was really draining. So I could only imagine that if you have kids and you're a mother and you're trying to raise your kids as well, and you have a relationship and you're trying to work, I think that's why a lot of people fall off. And I think that throughout time in relationships, you need to check in back with each other. Like, okay, we got married. All right, let's check in. Let's see what our goals are. Are we still on the same page? Are we still on the same goals? Are we still into the same things? Do we still see each other being in each other's lives in the next 5 years? How do we see ourselves raising our kids together? Or are we going to co-parent if we decided to get a divorce? Things like that. Or if you don't see me the same, what are you going to do different? Like, you know what I'm saying? Check in. If you guys have had a baby, so you get married, check in with your partner. You have a baby, check in with your partner. What's up? How are you feeling? Am I balancing out this very well to where we're still able to be a team and work together? Or is there anything that I could do better? Is there anything I'm doing wrong? But it's a two-way street. Both of you have to keep continuously checking in, because when life happens, people start to change and they go through changes. Everybody goes through changes. So it's great to check back in with each other and see, like, where are you at right now? Are you struggling in this area? Is there more I can do for you in this area? You know? So it just depends on what you guys are going through in life and with your jobs, careers, and everything like that. I'm sorry, I just went off on a tangent talking about all that. Do you guys have any other questions? I will continuously look up at the feed. Where was I? Y'all, I done forgot. Okay, speaking out against inequity. Oh, we read that part. Madeline turned her dining room into a war room. She laid out the large pieces of paper and mapped out all the possible next steps she could take and what the various outcomes might be. A friend suggested she leak these huge pay gaps to the press and then put pressure on the company to do an official pay audit. They didn't feel ethical to Madeline. She thought about who her allies were at the firm and who could help her make the case for pay parity. But she knew that even though she thought might be sympathetic, would be worried about what it might do to their reputation. Relationships are everything in the finance industry, and no one wanted to do anything that might potentially rock the boat. To test the waters, Madeline reached out to some senior men she knew at other firms to get their input. They warned her in no uncertain terms that if she spoke up, there would be repercussions. Well, I wish I could stay and listen longer, but I have to go to work. Good night. I'll catch your next reading. Okay, cool. I'll see you. Good night. Thank you for coming on. I'll see you next time. Okay. All the while, the workplace consciousness was rapidly shifting. Brave women were beginning to speak up about sexual harassment and pay inequity. Powerful men were starting to get pushed out, and entire industries were in the process of being upended. But the finance industry had been left untouched. Despite its boys' club reputation, no one had publicly spoken up about her industry. Madeline knew the risks. She'd mapped them on her dining room table. But she also knew her privilege. She had savings. She was senior enough and had a long enough track record that if she needed to get a new job, she'd probably be able to find one. If not her, who? If not now, when? As she reflected on her options, I looked up to make sure you guys can't see my feet because I have my legs crossed. Together, they decided. Oh, Madeline figured that the best course of action was to hire an employment lawyer. Together, they decided to sue Pancola Partners for discrimination. They filed on Friday at noon, and by the end of the business day, word was out in the industry. There was no turning back now. Madeline went to work the following Monday. She walked through the doors with her head held high. It was actually the best she felt in a very long time. She carried the shame silently for months, but by bringing it out into the open, she would no longer have to shoulder the burden alone. Most of her colleagues didn't know how to react. During a meeting, a bunch of men giggled nervously. No one could look her in the eye. Pencola Partners denied her claim, and the lawsuit dragged on for the next 4 years. For some months after filing, Madeline continued to go into the office. Her colleagues treated her with resentment and anger, but she was left alone to do her work. It was hard to pretend that things were normal, but she tried. Eventually, she was placed on administrative leave. No matter how hard it got, and it did, nothing compared to that initial painful discovery of how little they had valued her and so many other women. Whether she'd win or lose, the lawsuit wasn't really the point. Madeline was proud of herself for being courageous and for the example she was setting for everyone else. They were Goliath and she was David. Madeline considers the day she filed the suit one of the best days of her life. Madeline eventually left the firm but refuses to leave the industry. She strongly believes that working in finance is the most direct way to generate wealth, and so it's imperative for women and in particular women of color stay. Otherwise, they will never be able to reach the highest levels of power and influence that men have always held. Social movements may start from the bottom, but Madeline sure as hell wasn't going to cede her place at the top. Madeline's experience and the steps she took while heightened contain within them much of the DNA of this book. She questions her worth. She lobbies for the raise and activities, the allies she's made both inside and outside the company. She recognizes the importance of strategy and she takes her time considering her options and making her case. Madeline knows that to get what she wants, she needs to tread carefully, but she also knows when she's had enough. It took enormous bravery to not only sue her company, but to continue to come into work there every day. Madeline stood by her convictions and wouldn't let her corporation bully her. That's crazy. You have to have some, what can I say instead of the word that I want to use? You have to have some kind of strength to do that, to sue your company that you work for and to consistently come into work every day. That's crazy. That's not to say her path is the only one. Madeline acknowledges was her privilege that enabled her to take such risks. Her refusal to cede her place at the top demonstrates her awareness that this is bigger than any one of us as an individual. A message I hope you will take away from this book. The thing about Madeline is she never lost the belief that she could make change. I wish this for you too, that you can nurture this belief about your power and let nothing take it away. All right, so that was chapter 11. She sued the company, but still came to work because she believed in what she was fighting for, which was equality. That's great. It taught us to fight for equality. But I mean, it wasn't, like lined out and outlined like the other ones had, like little suggestions to do. The conclusion. I wish I didn't have to write this book. This is chapter 12. If women were paid equally to men, if half of the companies were run by us, if we owned half of the wealth of the world, I might be resting instead of writing. You'd be leading instead of reading. But we know that's not how things are. You saw that in the stories of Alicia, Reese, Kate, Phoebe, Amy, Giselle, Shelmina, Sarah, and Madeline. While their circumstances may not have been the same, at some point, each of them felt or were made to feel as if they were less than. Then each one of them, in her own way, did something about it. They identified what was standing between them and what they wanted, and they learned how to go above it, around it, or through it. Each of them had an aha moment that changed the course of their careers. For Shelmina, it was the first reframing from sharing her ideas and then learning to lobby for them. For Alicia and Giselle, it was their toxic bosses who lit the fire to find their purpose. For Reese, it was standing up for her money number. And for Madeline, it was standing up for herself and for all the women at her company. For Phoebe, it was for opening her own doors. And for Sarah, it was making sure they were open for everyone. For Kate and for Amy, it was learning to trust herself. But for an aha moment to happen, you have to be open to seeing it. And for that moment to mean anything, you have to decide to do something about it. And before all of that, you first have to believe you can. Therefore, believe you can. Where was okay. There are so many women who haven't yet realized the things that can be better than they are, that they don't have to accept what they've been given. Maybe they don't think that it's possible, or they believe that their circumstances won't allow it. Yes, it will be more difficult for some than for others. It always is. But if you're in a position to ask for more, ask for it. If you can make change, make it. The path will be challenging, as you saw in these stories. Progress isn't linear, and asking for more requires vigilance, but also patience. People will tell you no, not now, or wait your turn. Don't let that deter you. Use it as fuel. Setbacks don't have to set you back. In fact, they often illuminate the path forward. This is when you must ask yourself without judgment, what has this taught me? What wisdom can I take with me? Nothing will change if you don't fight for it. I know it's easy to feel alone or like you don't matter. This could not be further from the truth. There are so many women who, in so many different ways, are standing up and saying to the system, we want better, we deserve better. Being asked to take notes in a meeting may seem small, but it takes guts to be the woman who says no. Getting a $2,000 raise might not seem like much to some, but for the woman who negotiates, it can be life changing. Remember, individual action begets collective change. You saw it in AOC's decision to run for office and in Sarah's push for paid family leave. If you're willing to try and have the resilience to try again, you will see it yourself. Remember, we're all in this together. Now go get paid. Yay! We finally finished the book. Yay. Okay. So do you have any thoughts, any opinions about the book? I feel like a lot of it at the beginning, especially, I'm going to say that I feel like a lot of it was fluff, but it was much needed examples and charts that she gave, because I think that some people actually probably need it, and they need that extra boost to say, hey, you can do this. Get out of your head. Stop trying to be a perfectionist and know that you can go and get the job that you want and get paid what you want. You can negotiate the salary that you want. You just have to be well prepared. I think that's what was great about it. And the fact that she shows you and outlines for you how to do it, how to make allies, how to get promoted. and how to get your job to see that there are inequities within companies and within your job. Do you have anything to say? If not, then I'm going to say thank you guys for watching tonight. This was a mouthful. I don't know if I will ever read a book actively on here. I will probably outline it for you like I did the first 3 chapters that we covered tonight. If I ever decide that we're going to tackle a book again. The next thing that is coming for my channel will be Wednesday. I'm coming out with a video showing you a detailed way of how I create the vinyl graphics that I put on my glasses as well. Well, yeah, that I put on my graphics. Show you guys how I do it from the computer on the design space and then transferring it to the cutting machine and how I cut it out and place everything on the glasses. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget that video is coming out on Wednesday. I will be filming that tomorrow. I just thank you guys for supporting me and for watching. You can look at me and get inspired. Wow, that's crazy. I should write a book. I should write a book about what? Let me know what I should write a book about, and I'll probably try it. I was actually supposed to be illustrating a children's book that was actually written by my mom. It would be my baby journal or baby diary. And we were going to turn it into a book. I have to make the illustrations for it, though. And I never find time to finish that. My journey. Okay. Probably at some point in my life, I will probably make a book about my journey. Definitely. Definitely. I just thank you for being a motivator and for pushing me to tackle things like my website and the different videos that you want to see. Like, thank you so much for the suggestions and things, because, you know, that pushes me and that makes me want to achieve and do more. I don't know how often I will go live. Maybe I'll start going live just to say hi since we're done with the book. But I'm definitely going to put out that video so you can see me make glasses in more detail on Wednesday. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope that you guys have a really good night. I am so tired. Yeah, I can do shot glasses. Definitely. I would just have to find shot glasses. I think I can find shot glasses. But yes, I can do shot glasses. I can do any glass that you would like. Yes, definitely. Before we get off live, I want to find out if I can do something particularly here on my channel. Okay. I don't see anything. All right, good night. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace to the Middle East.